Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for steaming hot for freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Around the world it is the Michael Dukes Show. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the program. We are broadcasting and streaming live around the world at michaeldukes.com, where you'll find links to the audio-only live stream, the podcast, the social media sites where we simulcast the show, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And, of course, broadcasting live across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station, and or translator, FM translator, for those of you who are wondering about that. Good morning and welcome to the program. It is what I like to call a good old-fashioned open line, open forum day. Yep. We're working on some guests, and nothing worked out. Nothing came through. I mean, it's just you and me today, which I decided to, just embrace. Let's just do it. I mean, it's time to get into it and just talk about anything that we want to talk about today. Now, obviously, we're going to talk about politics and the news of the day and some of the headlines and stuff like that. But I don't want that to hold you back. If you want to talk about something that is not political, you should feel absolutely free to do so today, because, we need that. We need that kind of, we need that kind of slice of life stuff, right? That's what we call it in radio. It's a slice of life. So anything that's not related to politics is also welcome today. And in fact, I have already put the phone lines to good use this morning, and the phone lines are open. Wherever it is that you want to call from, you can do it. 907-433-3150. 907-433-3150. We'd love to hear from you this morning, and we want to say a special thank you to our friends over there at West. You can them at satellitewest.com. From Seldovia to Tin City. Tin City, it's an actual place. I didn't even realize that until I was looking at something this morning. Tin City in Alaska, wherever it is that you want to stay. That was the lowest temperatures in the state were at Tin City yesterday. Below zero. So there you go. I don't know where it is, but I do know that if you were there and if you talked to the folks at Satellite West, that they could have gotten you some devices that keep you connected with the rest of the world, whether it's email, text messages, phone calls, or maybe you just want to surf the internet a little bit. You're going to make some tweets or something. Tweeting from Tin City. It's all good. You can do it with your friends at Satellite West, satellitewest.com. And they are proud to sponsor the program this morning, this hour, this very minute. In fact, they're sponsoring this very minute as well. So thank you to Satellite West for providing that sponsorship to help bring the program to all the good people in the state and on the internet. It's good stuff. 907-433-3150. Phone lines are open, and I'd love to hear from you guys today. And we could talk about, let's see, what should we talk? Because I've got some headlines, which I'm sure is going to take up a big chunk of this hour at least. But what other things would we like to talk? How about different things you're watching on the streams these days? The Idiot Hour. as some of you will call it. I call it the entertainment cube. I enjoy. That's how I unplug from the world after, after working for 13, 14, 15 hours a day. I get to go chance to sit down and just unplug my brain for a little bit, to be entertained, to enjoy, to relax, to step outside the adulting bubble. It's a good way to do it. So maybe you can throw that at me. What are you enjoying right now on the old boob tube? I don't know, or favorites to look forward to. John Wick. I just had to say that right off the bat. John Wick. What are you looking forward to? That's it right there. I can't wait for that. That's my can't wait pick right now. Or anything else that you want to discuss. It's it's a thing. Unplugged to get programmed, says Bill. So you unplugged from the thing to get programmed. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm at least smart enough to know when they're trying to program me. Okay, and then I just ignore that program. So to go about it. I know what you mean, though, Bill. I know what you mean. There's plenty of that going on. But what? At least it's Well, I was just going to say, at least it's subtle, but sometimes it's not so subtle, right? Sometimes the programming that they're trying to lay into these programs, television shows or movies or whatever, is so blatant and over the top. You're like, please, why are you? I mean, I feel like you're just bashing me over the head with your agenda. I mean, they just, why are you doing that? It's it's one of the reasons why I try to in my viewing habits, I try to stick to things like fiction, fantasy, supernatural, science fiction, that kind of stuff, because at least it's not so up and in my grill that at least it's not there. There are few and far between kind of true life police procedurals or something like that I have enjoyed and watched, because they don't try to do that. A few of them that don't. One that comes to mind right now, I mean, like, my wife loves to watch Law and Order, and it just it blows my mind. I cannot watch that show. It's so preachy sometimes. But on the other side of the scale, you have something like Bosch, which is definitely not I don't get any preachy thing in it. So anyway, some good stuff there, and we'll continue. If you want to talk about that, great. If you don't want to talk about that's great as well. Whatever. Clarkson's Farm, Brian just said in the chat room, which I have to admit, we did binge both seasons of Clarkson's Farm, which was irreverent and hysterical, and also frustrating to watch somebody try to overcome, government prejudices and the NIMBY. That was also frustrating, but great. It was a great show. So, but whatever, whatever you'd like to talk about this morning, we'd love to come on board and be part of it with you. So feel free to smile and dial 907-333-3150, and we'll come on in and be part of it. Okay, let's go over to the headlines and take a look at some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. Some of the proposed bills that are in the legislature that they're going to continue to be working on here over the next few weeks. And even the fact, there's some deep irony in some of these stories. I want to mention that right off the bat. Some deep irony. But first and foremost, let's take a look at a piece that I didn't even know, something that was coming out I didn't even know about. And this morning, Suzanne Downing over at Must Read Alaska posted about this, and I thought, wow, this is some pretty good stuff. Headline reads, Governor takes a swipe at Anchorage Daily News over persistently biased reporting, and the reporters snap back. So in a short video on Twitter on Wednesday, the governor pointed out inaccurate items in the newspaper stories about his parental rights bill. He said that he encouraged people to read the bill that he had authored for themselves rather than through the filter of the newspaper, which painted the bill darkly. Reports about teachers, he says, another example of the fake news by the ADN. He said, we introduced a bill yesterday on parental rights in education. And basically what the bill says is that parents have the right to say yes or no to whether their child is going to receive instruction or be part of that program, of any program that touches on the subject of sex or gender. He said, here's what the Anchorage Daily News said. And then he read a sentence from the newspaper. Governor Mike Dunleavy on Tuesday introduced education policy proposals that would limit sexual education and the rights of non-gender conforming students in public schools. Dunleavy said the bill does not limit the rights of anyone. But Ira Samuels, she slapped back on Twitter with a very passive-aggressive response of, thanks for reading our coverage. We're proud of the reporting we're doing at the ADN and about this legislation, and thankful to our readers who look to the ADN for fair journalism. Because then Sean McGuire, he got even more defensive and blasted off with a whole series of tweets about, well, it does that, this is a discriminatory bill because non-gendered or transgendered kids could go into bathrooms at whatever bathroom that they identified with. And that's something that kids could do at every school in Alaska right now outside the Matsu. And this would stop that. So this would infringe on their rights. And he just goes on and on and on about this, talking about all these kind of things. And then, but again, no commentary on the fact that this does nothing. The headline again reads from the ADN. The sentence was that it would limit sexual education. This does not. It just requires parental permission. It just requires parental involvement in the education of their students, which we talked about yesterday. I mean, this is, again, one of the things where I said it yesterday and I'll say it again. If you are trying to conceal from the parents something that is going on in the child's life, that is evil. I don't care if the parents would disagree with what the child wants. I understand that happens sometimes because I've been a parent myself and still am, of 5, right? Sometimes there are things that your kids do that you don't agree with, or beliefs or views that they take that you don't agree with. That doesn't mean that the school district, the government, get to hide it from the parents who are morally, financially, and legally obligated to be responsible for those children. And then, of course, Scooter Kendall got involved. Scott Kendall, he got onto Twitter, and this guy, Buddy Witt, who works in Senator Shelley Sue's office, he asked a question on Twitter that says, which specific policy makes children less safe or more likely to suffer abuse, and where is the data to support that? Scooter jumps back in and says, children are sadly most likely to be abused sexually or physically by a parent. This legislation would allow an abusing parent to veto their child receiving information about abuse and how to get help. What? He said, it's also not hard to imagine that a homophobic or transphobic parent might learn of their child's sexuality under this policy and retaliate against them. Oh my. There are bad people I can't even wrap my brain around that whole thing. If you have a child that is, that has it was trans or is homosexual or whatever, you're still a parent. It may upset you. It may make you mad. It may irritate. You're still, but they're your children. I don't understand. And so that's a good reason to allow the government to continue to hide everything from you. There's no justification for any of this stuff. And yes, that we've been pointing out the ADN's bias for quite a while now. Ever since when the Binkleys bought it, there was remember the fervor after it got sold from Mara what's her face, and it was being sold to the Binkleys, and everybody was losing their mind about how this right-wing cabal was going to be. God, you wish, right? You wish. No, I would argue that it's almost worse than the Rogoff, Alice Rogoff. It's almost worse than before. That's what's going on. I mean, so yeah, good for the governor for snapping back. I mean, people should actually read the bill instead of just reading the news coverage on it or listening to me. We'll see what we got. More coming up. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll return with more right after this. Okay. All right. Let me go back up here to see what you guys are talking about. Cowboy French roast coffee in the stove, so strong you can stand a spoon in it. Remember, that's what Louis L'Amour used to say. Coffee wasn't strong enough until it could float a horseshoe. Then it was strong enough. That's what they say. It's the old Louis L'Amour kind of cowboy coffee. Let's go over to the phones real quick, and we'll see if we can figure out who's on the line, and we'll get them set up for the return to radio. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Morning, Michael. This is David from Anchorage. How are you today?
Oh, good, my friend. Good. In fact, your name is still here in the system. So hold the line, and we'll get started with you here on the other side. I'd love to talk to you about this education bill, and the fact now that people are already so up in arms about it. It's just. So fingers crossed it gets cleared up. Fingers crossed it gets cleared up here. Jerica says she's about to start Yellowstone. Oh, man. My word of warning on Yellowstone, it's going to take you probably 3 episodes to really get into it. But by the 4th or the 5th episode, I was like, this show. Mm-hmm. And then I proceeded to just binge the entire thing. Plus 1883, the original, the prequel, or the prequel, and now 1923 is the secondary prequel. All right. I'm going back over here. Mikhail says he enjoyed The Last of Us, which apparently the final episode dropped this last weekend, so I'm getting ready to go watch that. And we'll see what goes on from there. I've been putting it off because I refuse to be confined by the streaming services. Nitpicky, we're going to drop a week. That's just bullshit. That's just some poussoir right there. If I want to watch all 8 episodes at one sitting, I should be able to. Not that I would. Not that I have, but close. Mikhail says, I just don't understand why everything is 8 episodes now. Wasn't too long ago. Seasons ran like 25 episodes. Yeah, but see, what they're trying to do in these series now is they're trying to tell a story in 8 episodes. In you know, the 20 plus episode shows, there was always some filler in there, right? I mean, there's always some filler episodes. There was always a main story arc, and then they had the filler episodes and everything else. I don't mind that they're only 8 episodes. I mean, you know, would I like to see 10 or 12 episodes? Bill says Yellowstone's the best show he's seen in years. Yeah, it was pretty good. Let's see. ADN. Here, try this chocolate-flavored propaganda. Governor, nonsense. You should try this vanilla-flavored propaganda. I mean, oh, man. Buddy's in Rep McCabe's office now. Sorry, Buddy was in. All right. I apologize, Buddy. So if I got that thing. Let's see. Senator John Big including there are no only parents with what? There are no only parents with mental disorder. Okay. Okay. Well, I guess we're. I'm just trying to. Your internet is crap this morning. Says Harold. So we might. I mean, who knows? We'll see how it goes at the hour one. We might cut in and cut out and do a reboot during the top of the hour break. But we'll see. We'll see what it looks like. All right, here we go. We got David on the line from Anchorage. You're going to talk about some. I mean, David and I could talk about for the whole next segment. We could talk. Program. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We got more coming up here, but first we've got calls on hold, and so we're going to go over there to start with this morning, and we're going to start with David, who's calling in from Anchorage, and we'll get a hot take from him this morning here on what his thoughts are. David Boyle. Good morning, sir. How are you? What's on your mind?
Michael, I'm doing great today, and even better probably tomorrow. You know, I'm really thankful that Governor Dunleavy has come out and put these 2 bills in the hopper in the House and the Senate. That's House Bill 105 and Senate Bill 96. By the way, the House Bill 105 is going to be heard this coming Monday morning.
Okay.
In House Education. The Senate bill is sent to, interesting enough, doesn't going to education at this time. It's going to judiciary.
Right, Matt Clinton's district. Yeah. For an education bill to first go to judiciary sounds a little weird.
It does, and maybe they sent it to Clayman to protect Senator Loki Tobin, I would guess, because she came out before the bill was even put in the hopper by the governor, saying that she was going to stop it and wouldn't even be heard in her committee. So maybe Senate President Stevens decided to allow her to save some face and send it to Matt Clayman's Judiciary Committee. The title of this bill should be, "Who's your parent? The school staff or you?"
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's all about.
Well, yeah.
This is about protecting the child and the parents' rights to educate their child. It's not the school district's right to educate the child. It's the parents to determine what's best for their child. And there are a lot of good points in here. The one is today, the law is written, it requires, pardon me, a student's parents to opt the child out of any sex education. And that's problematic because what happens is maybe the school district doesn't tell the child or give the child a slip to take home. Maybe the child throws the slip away, or maybe it just stays in the child's backpack so the parent never knows. So the effect is the parent has to opt their child in to the sex education program, which gives the parent positive control. And that's what's really good, because there are problems in the past with children going to sex education classes and their parents find out afterwards because maybe the school district didn't send them notification as required by current law 2 weeks before the class.
Right. Because how would you
I don't
know,
how they're
right?
gonna send it to parents.
How would you know that
But
they got sent to it? And like you said, giving a permission slip or a notification slip to a fourth or a fifth grader. I mean, what, you got a 50-50 chance to get it back on the other side to come to the parent. And I think you're right. But in fact, I don't think the title of the headline should have been, who's the parent. The title should have been, who's your daddy? Or mommy, in parentheses on the side, because I mean, that's the thing. I mean, who is, and at what point did the government and the nanny state, why should we let them become so involved in our children? Why did we give up parental control on so many of these things? Because the neighbors did, the people down the street did, because our parents did. Where's our currency does not work because we are not that's what we like. We're just going to look at the babysitter. I mean, I'm sorry, the school, and then they're going to finds full of much with all this BS that people are hearing all over. That the administrators or the unions or somebody with a special agenda is going to fill all their heads with it, and we come home and we wonder why things are broken in this country.
Well, you're spot on with those remarks, and one of the things included in, besides just sex education and human reproduction, is gender identity, which is being taught as well. Children as young as third grade, second grade, this law prevents a child this being to a child under grade 4, which is good as well. The left has come out. Call them the left education, and the teachers union have come out and we're the governor's a homophobe. He's taking transgender children rights away from him. No, what he's doing is protecting every child to determine what's best for their child, if they're transgender or not. Then of course, another part of the bill, which things are happening, and I'm very familiar with the Anchorage School District, and it's probably happening in others in Alaska, is the parents, the school district in Anchorage is hiding the fact that a child wants to be known by a different pronoun than their birth given pronoun, and that's actually one of the school district's policies. So they have to have written permission from a parent before the name of the pronoun used in public school to address the child can be used in their records.
Sure.
And that parent has to be informed in writing of the. So that's another good thing. We're empowering parents. And, it's time that the education industry stopped inserting between the parent and the child and becoming, in effect, their surrogate parent.
And as much as I would like to blame just the school, just the teachers, just the unions or the government or as long as there is a tremendous of responsibility here on the parents. They need to get more informed on it. They need to be more involved. They need to understand this stuff, and they need to are being disrupted or intercepted or abrogated by the school district. Again, I said it yesterday and I've said it many, many times. Don't be surprised when you send your kids to Rome and they return as Romans. That's what happens. You want to know how messed up that is? That you want to know how messed up they can be? send them off to school 6, 7, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then you get home on the weekend and they're like, man, these kids are what are they learning? Oh, well, I don't know. Let me go watch more and drink some beer and we'll worry about it later. No, you should be worrying about it now. You should be worrying about it right this second.
You're exactly right, Michael. And to the grandparents and people, grandchildren or children in school, this is going to affect your future. And a lot of people like to talk about the PFD, but this is a lot more important, because what you see happening in the country today is a cultural war, and it's happening and it's being promoted in the schools, including the university. And if you think it's bad today, just wait, people. 5 years from now, you won't recognize this great nation, and your freedoms will be gradually taken away, including those Second Amendment rights. The indoctrination of the children, they're easily molded when they're young, and they get a hold of them.
Yeah.
And there's I put a post out the other day by Wilma Mankiller, the chief of the Cherokee Nation. She said, "Whoever controls our child's education controls our future." And that says it all.
Well, yeah. I mean, who was it? Somebody posted in the chat room yesterday a quote that said, give me a child's mind for 4 years and I'll have them forever. I know it was Lenin or somebody. But I mean, that's exactly the same thing. You teach these little mindful of something when they're very young, when they're definitely in their formative years, and all of a sudden, what happened? What happened to my kids? I'll tell you what happened to your kids. You totally surrendered your authority to teach them and your values to the school system because it was convenient. That's why you did it. It was convenient for you. 40 hours a week or whatever while you went off to have a job or do whatever. And you didn't take, this is not everybody. It's part of the problem. So
there are too many parents that are sitting on the sidelines and they're apathetic regarding what's happening to their child in school. And that's why we really need to get them active and, quote, attend school board meetings for what that's worth. But they need to just challenge the schools in their neighborhoods and challenge the teachers. There are a lot of teachers, I'll guarantee you, that are opposed to what's happening today in the classrooms regarding sex education, transgenderism, gender identity, etc. But what you said, and one of the tenets of Marxism is to control the education. And once they do that, that's another thing.
Absolutely. All right. Well, David, thank you for your call. I appreciate you calling in this morning. Thanks for giving us your thoughts on this, and appreciate you being part of it. Thanks so much. That brings us up to the break. So we're going to take that break, and we're going to return, and we'll be back in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Don't forget, you can check us out on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, or check out the podcasts wherever you find great podcasts. The Michael Duke Show continues. It is your home for common sense radio. We'll be more in just a hot moment. Don't go anywhere. Oh, don't forget, you can also send me an email. Email address is meshow.com, me@michaeldukeshow.com, if you want to be part of it. Open line, open forum. We return with this here in just a moment. 907-433-3150. 907-433-3150. The Michael Duke Show.
running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Duke.
Okay, guys. Yeah, this is not working. Quick reboot. If you're on hold on the phones, you'll have to call back because I'm about to reboot everything. We're going to return with more of the Michael Duke Show. We continue after this. Okay. I think we got it fixed. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Let me redo this right here. Boom. All right, welcome back to the program. Thanks for coming in. The Michael Duke Show. Hopefully we got the lag issue all squared away. We are about 30 seconds right now from rejoining the radio, and we'll have comments on all that. Oh, I forgot to do the phones. So I will log in and do it real quick. See if we can get these phone calls back. Come on. You got it. There we go. All right. Thanks for coming, and thanks for being patient with us. And we will return here in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. All right. Back program. Thanks for coming in and joining us. It is the Michael Duke Show, broadcasting live across the state of Alaska on this your favorite radio station and or FM translator. We are continuing now with Open Line, Open Forum. We've got a couple calls on hold, and so we're going to start off over there this morning. I have some other stories that I want to get to, but your calls reign supreme. I mean, again, anytime. Caller, that's you. Go ahead. If you're all right, I'm going to put them back on hold because I don't know if they just don't know that they're not on hold or what.
All participants are muted.
Now, let's try this again. See if we can get it again. Good morning, caller. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Mike. I'm calling from Wasilla.
Hello, Mike in Wasilla. What is on your mind, my friend? And please speak into your phone a little closer because you're a little quiet. So what's on your mind?
Is this better?
That's better.
Good. Everybody's hunting for a solution or at least maybe a method by which they can talk about the PFD and get people's attention, and I've got an idea. Instead of talking dollars with the PFD, talk tax percentage. If we were currently operating under a tax, we don't have the PFD. If we were operating under an income tax or a sales tax, how much would that tax be, and how much would these increases, the BSA, the teachers, retirement fund, how much would that cost us in additional taxes? Because eventually they're going to spend this PFD. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. What's the tax rate going to be? What would it be right now without it? What will it be in 10 years when they finally get around to spending all of that PFD and we have to go into an income tax or a sales tax? Nobody's talking this.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah, that's an interesting point because that would put a real live dollar figure on it. If they if you had to spread this out as a tax across all Alaskans, how much, if you only get $1,000 of your $3,995 PFD, how much would that equate to in a percentile of a tax like a sales tax? That's what you're saying.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what I'm saying. And given that kind of a thing right now, that would mean a 25% tax. Are you willing to pay a 25% tax to live in the state of Alaska? I've lived here 60 years, over 60 years now. When I was a kid, they had an income tax, and I tell you what, I was stunned when my paycheck was handed to me, and they took state income tax out, and I'm like, Mom, Dad, what's this? Oh, well, that's the taxes to live up here. Now, what would the taxes be?
Right. Right. Well, that's a good question. I mean, I like that. I like that because again, it gives something. It gives, instead of this amorphous, oh, you're still getting free money, shut up and sit down. Now you would see exactly how much you would be paying for all those great government services that they're saying that's why they're using that PFD for. Just just let the adults talk and let us do it. Mike, I think that's a great. Pop back in. All right, Mike. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Your sound is going in and out as well.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for calling in this morning and be a part of it.
Not a problem.
We appreciate that. 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. That sounds pretty good. I mean, what do you think? Taking that cut, that PFD tax, and equating it to some other kind of tax and say, how much would it be across the state? I mean, if you, especially when you're talking about a family of 3 or 4, how much of a tax would you be paying if you lost, for example, 3, mom and dad and a kid, right? Three people in a household, and you all got your $1,000 PFD, which you should be very satisfied with because reasons. That means that $9,000 of your money was just taxed away from you. What would that be as a percentile of your overall income? I mean, that's a pretty hefty chunk. I mean, that's a pretty heavy deal. So, yeah, we should go check it out. And I maybe we'll have Brad Keithley crack in on this. Harold in the chat room said we were talking about, again, parents and schools and who's the parent and who's, who should be responsible for what. Harold mentions in the chat room, he said, one time my daughter came home and said, my teacher said I don't need to listen to you, and if you require me to do things, I can call the police. True story. That's a true story. And that would have been the next day that I would have pulled her out of school and handed her a book and said, there you go. We're going to teach you right here. You sit right here. We're going to teach you all about it. Terry responded to that by saying, my son tried that. I handed him the phone and told him I'd pack his bag while he was making. I mean, this is, yeah. Oh, I beg to differ. Feel free. Feel free to do it. For a child that has no other income, says Kevin, that would be a 75% tax. You're right. If all a child gets is the PFD, and that's the thing that we haven't talked much about. But when you start talking about cutting into the PFD and you're taking the money straight from the children, because for most of them, if their parents are allowing them to have their PFD, that is their sole source of income for the entire year. And if you only give them $1,000 and it was supposed to be $4, ow. It's painful. It's painful. Absolutely horrific. All right. What were some of the other headlines that I wanted to hit in today? Oh, this is the irony story of the day. I mean, we should come up with some kind of the ironic story of the day stinger or something. That's that you just can't get away from the irony of it. I mean, you can't write these headlines. I mean, you would think this is a headline from The Onion or the Babylon Bee, right? This is the headline. International Woman of Courage Award goes to a man. Well, biological male. The International Women's Day, which was yesterday, had the annual International Woman of Courage Award ceremony at the White House. 11 extraordinary women around the world who are building a brighter future for us all. And they gave the award to a biological male. And all I could say is that the picture of Jill Biden and Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, standing with the recipient, all I had to do was look at the face of one of the 11 or 10 other women who are up for this award in the background. Look, I mean, her face says it all. Like, are you freaking kidding me? They gave the International Woman of Courage Award to a man who's living as a woman, who is, you just can't, I'm sure that this will be classified as hate speech or something. If you want to live that way, more power to you. But don't tell me that here's the thing. I have no objection to somebody who's going to say, well, I'm going to live as a woman, or I'm a man, or I'm a woman who's going to live as a man, or a man who lives as a woman, or a man who lives as a toaster. I don't care. You're a furry. You want to live as a dog, or a cat for the right. Hey, you know what? If you do you, baby, that's fine. But don't tell me that, well, they're because she dressed like a woman and believed it. Now they're a woman. They're a man dressed like a woman. And the fact that you gave the International Woman of Courage Award with 10 other actual females, and you gave it to the one person who is dressed up like a woman and living like I can't wrap my brain around it. Cannot wrap my brain around it. But that is, I mean, again, I read the headline and I thought, well, golly, this has got to be like an Onion headline or Babylon Bee or something. But nope, it's the truth. Happened yesterday, right there at the White House. Gave it to Alba Ruda, Argentina's current special envoy for sexual orientation and gender identity in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Trade, and Worship. Okay. Just the look on this gal's face. You gotta see this. Let me show you this. Here we go. Nope, wrong one. Let me get the right one in here. There you go. So here's the picture. Here's the picture of the thing happening, right? And all I got to do is go over here and just look at the look on this gal's face right over here. Just to get a look at, like, she's basically saying, what the hell is is that a golf clap? It's a golf clap, man. I don't know what's going on, but I mean, oof. That picture though, that picture right there. Oh man. Women lost 50 years. Donna says women lost 50 years of progress towards equality of opportunity. Yeah. Let's see. A cut to the PFD is not a true tax, so some people might use the word a rhetorical figure of speech. An actual tax involved the government taking a chunk of money that's individually owed by a person. Oh, Randy, I don't even have the heart to argue with you this morning. I just don't even have the heart to I just can't even get him. Let's see. Oh no, tell Scooter that some parents won't allow their kids to. Oh no, don't tell Scooter that some parents won't allow their kids to spend their own PFDs. I didn't allow my kids to spend any of their PFDs. Why? Because I needed it to put food on the table and put gas in the cars and heat in the house and, to buy them new clothes. That's either that or something else. I mean, it's just crazy. Let's see. Kelly says, FNSB made a video about a Woman's Day that included men. I sent it to Mayor Bryce Ward. He was a little concerned. Yeah. The next time I see a man that wants to act like a woman, there's going to be a cat fight, says Kelly. I mean, I'd let people, again, I'm a kind of live and let live person, Kelly. If somebody wants to prance around I saw a guy yesterday, I was at a convenience store and some guy walked in a dress, and it was not like you had to double check to see if it was a man in a dress. It was very obviously a man in a dress. And I just was like, you do you, man. I don't know if you're actually a woman because you got to have balls to walk around looking like that, as like a man with an Adam's apple and a 5 o'clock shadow walking around in a dress. You just did, there you go. And it's just proof positive that you're a man because you've got the cojones to walk around looking like that. Go to I Hate Hershey's to see a candy bar. That's the Jeremy's candy bar. That was pretty cool. That was pretty funny. I watched the commercial for that. It popped up in my feed the other day. That was pretty hysterical. Every time the government tries to make things equal, it all goes down the drain. Well, that's the problem with government. Government is not looking for equality of opportunity. What government's trying to find is equality of outcomes. And that's the thing. You can't force equality of outcomes and have anything be actually equal in the end. Gasp, you spent up your kid's PFD? You're damn right I did. I spent every dollar of many of those PFDs for many years because they kept us going. It's not about the dress, says Kelly. It's about the war on women. Yeah, well, there you go. The tax is where the government takes a portion of the money that's individually owned by a person. Yeah, well, you do own your PFD. You do own a portion of that money. That's what the whole thing is about. Is that as a resource owner, you own a portion of that, and your payment that you are owed is from the money that is in there. That is what yours owned. That's, All right. Well, at least it seems to be a little more stable this morning after the reboot in the thing. So, some parents use their PFDs to send their kids to private schools. Isn't this unconstitutional? RE public funds going to private schools? Oh, don't give them any ideas, David. Do not give them any ideas whatsoever. Don't do that. Just don't do that at all, my friend. All right. Well, we're going to jump back into it. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show continues. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Hour 2 is right now. Let's do it.
Whoa, buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet, MichaelDukesShow.com, where you'll find links to pretty much everything that we have, the audio-only live stream, the social media outlets like YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, where we simulcast the radio show every morning, and even links to our podcasts, which are available pretty much anywhere, Google, iTunes, Spotify, my favorite. You can find all those links there. And, of course, broadcasting across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or translator, FM translator, it's The Michael Dukes Show. Welcome to Hour 2. Today is just a good old-fashioned open line, open forum day. I'd kind of like to try and do this maybe once a week, where we just get a chance to hear from folks that, we don't normally hear from. And we've heard from a few today that, new callers, new sounds, new voices with new ideas, including Mike from Wasilla, who I thought just had a great idea that we should start talking about the cuts to the PFD in the amount of tax that they would actually be if they were some form of sales tax. And I like that. I like that. What a good idea. Because again, it will put it into more perspective as to how much you're losing. How much is being taken from you each and every year? Then somebody pointed out that, of course, if you give your kids their PFD to spend and it's their PFD and that's their only income, those kids are being taxed at like a 75% tax rate, which is worse than Sweden or Finland or wherever they are that they've got. I mean, at least they cap out at like 49% tax. No, 75% tax, 75% tax. So anyway, it's definitely some good ideas coming through on the phone lines today. So if you would like to call in and talk about that or anything else, I'd love to hear about it. 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. This hour of the program being brought to you by your friends at Satellite West. You could find them at satellitewest.com. From Tin City to Tetlanika, from Talkeetna to Tanana, from Tetlin to Tongass. Oh, see, I did it. I got it. Six in a row. 6 in a row. Any of those areas in the state, wherever you'd like to be, the folks at Satellite West have you covered for staying connected via phone, via email, via text message, or just surfing the internet, whatever you need. They've got the tools, they've got the talent to get it done. SatelliteWest.com. Go over there and check it out. Togiak. Thank you, Chris. Another good one. But I made 6 on my own, Chris. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Don't harsh my buzz here. I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. I got 6 on my own. Okay. I can't even. Let's go over to some of the other stories that I want to talk about today. And you, again, can feel free to sound off on this, or if you want to talk about, I don't know, whatever. We talked earlier, we got talking about television shows. Everybody in the chat room is telling me what their favorite television show is. I will have to say Clarkson's Farm on Amazon Prime, which follows Jeremy Clarkson of Top Gear fame, about, being a farmer in England. He actually owns a farm and he farms on this show, and it just goes through it's amazing. It's an absolutely amazing show. You should watch it because it highlights the nanny state and the NIMBY mentality of many communities and governments and how they hinder people from doing things on their own private property. It is absolute insanity. Absolute. But it's a great show. It's a great show. You'll enjoy it. I think, I think you will. I enjoyed it, if nobody else. So, but we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But I've got the next story up, which the more I read it, the more I feel like somebody is getting paid to bolster their hobby. That's what I feel like right now. The more I read about that. And the subject that we're going to dive into now is what they call the Alaska Long Trail. Now, we talked a bit about this project last year because it was up in the budget and they had committed initially, they approved almost $15 million to fund what is known as the Alaska Long Trail. It's a project that is set to create a 500-mile network of walking trails that basically would run from the Gulf of Alaska coastline down in Seward to the boreal forest in the interior part of the state. So it would cover a good, half to 2/3 of the state, all on a walking trail. Now, there are already trails in parts of these areas, including Chugach National Forest, Chugach State Park, Denali State Park, but they want to connect all of these areas similar to what is, similar to what's going on in the Appalachian Trail on the East Coast and the Pacific Crest Trail on the West Coast. So there's a nonprofit group called Alaska Trails, and they are the organization that is promoting the Long Trail Project. This year, they're seeking $9.5 million in legislative appropriation for this year's budget to create 14 different trail projects from the Anchorage area up towards Fairbanks. Again, last year, the state, the legislature had approved $14.7 million in funding, according to the Alaska Beacon. But Governor Mike Dunleavy vetoed a big chunk of that, not all of it, which, okay, down to $4.2 million for 7 projects. So they got $4.2 million for 7 projects. But the nonprofit and the leader of this nonprofit, I don't know she is the Trails Initiative Manager for the project, said the state's not the only source of money. Each one of these is other sources include the federal government and private foundations. She talks about, they had to, one of the projects that survived the veto got $1 million from the state and $550,000 from the Girdwood Valley service area inside the municipality of Anchorage. There's a hand tram crossing there. So they got $1 million from the state and they got another $500,000 from the taxpayers in that area to pay for it. There's also federal funding. Lisa Murkowski was able to secure $11 million for trails over the past 2 fiscal years, and another $5.5 million in the omnibus bill that passed in December. So this gal goes on to say the organization is super grateful for all the funding we received last year. So I'm just adding this up. So she got $11 million plus she got $16.5 million from Murkowski, another $4.2 million. She got $20 million plus $500,000 from the Girdwood Valley, property taxpayers. to continue this project. And they're coming back every year for more and more money, millions and millions of dollars to build these trails that are foot trails, footpaths. And maybe we need to look a little bit more into this Alaska Trails organization. Because, while I acknowledge that people love to go outside and they love to journey, I don't know many people who are going to hike 500 miles worth of trails to go from one side of the state to the other. It's a 501c3. Of course it is. Of course it is. And let's see, the boards and staff. They've got, they got a lot of people on their boards of directors and their staff and everything else. I just want to know, what are the full-time salaries? What is the full-time salaries of these organizations that are out there asking for money on this kind of thing? $20 million in the last 2 years. And then they're asking for another $9.5 million this year for a walking trail in this. I'm just, what? I support trails. If you want to go out there and cut trails on public lands and do that kind of stuff, great. How about we fix the Glen Highway? How about we fix the Richardson? How about we, fix the bridges and the things that are, falling apart in this state, instead of spending millions of dollars on a walking trail? And of course, this organization apparently is administering a lot of this stuff, is what I'm seeing here. Maybe they're not actually receiving the money, but she basically said, we're super grateful for all the funding we received last year. And I'm just wondering, $5 to $10 million a year in state funds, plus another, she got $16 million over 2 years. So another $8 million a year from the federal government. Somebody's turned their hobby into a full-time occupation. As much as that's a great thing for the community to have, trails, and she's talking about the economic development, like the Appalachian, she's trying to compare it to the Appalachian Trail. The problem is, it's in Alaska. The Appalachian Trail is surrounded by other states, and people can drive there in a hot minute and everything else. I don't see people setting up a bunch of stuff to, it's not an apples to apples comparison. And we are spending millions of dollars, even with the vetoes, $4.2 million this last year, in this fiscal year, from the state. And they're asking for another $9 million right now, plus the $16 million that they got from Lisa and the feds. Again, as great as an idea is that might be, is it really on us to do that for, sounds like they're good at collecting money. Yeah. Sounds like they've gotten real good at collecting the money. I would like to know what the usage is on that trail. What about the trails that they've created since this thing got started? How many people a year use those trails, and then divide that by the multi-million dollars a year that they got to put those trails in? Maybe they should have $1,000 a year user fee for those trails. If you want to pay for it. I just don't know. I just don't know. All right. I guess that was the story that just jumped out at me, and I was like, what I keep hearing about this. I started hearing about this long trail idea like 3 or 4 years ago, and I was like, well, that can't really be a thing. And then I saw the appropriation last year, and I'm like, my God, they're actually going to give a lot of money. And then the governor vetoed it. I thought he vetoed the whole thing. No, he only vetoed 10 of the $14 million that was in there. So, I mean, they still got $4 million. They're, why did they come landscape my house? That's a viable thing. I'm right. That's important. Just come landscape my house. It'll be fine. All right, we got to go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll be back with more right after this.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show, because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Duke Show.
The 500-mile trail, says Harold, would be a great addition for Alaska. The trail would return millions for decades. How? How would it return millions for decades? I'm all for opening up land in public corridors and things like that for people to kind of do their own thing and all that kind of stuff. But how would it return millions for decades? I mean, you know, that how? I just don't see a gold rush of tourists who are here to hike through walk 500 miles through Alaska. You know, the local cottage businesses sprouting to support a 500-mile eco trail would be great. Well, then they should pay for it. That would be my thing. I think they should pay for it. Oh my gosh. And who maintains it? And who, well, that's exactly it, Debbie. Who maintains it? That's a valid question. I think that would be you and me. I mean, we would pay for it all to begin with, right? Then yeah, that would be it right there. Okay. Oh hey. The Blarney Stone Pubs. Nice. My wife just sent me a link. McGinley's is closed and been remodeled. It's going to be the Blarney Stone Irish Pub. I could tell that's going to be a new favorite hang right there. I mean, we already liked McGinley's to begin with. We were sad when they closed down, but now, yeah, that's going to be good stuff. Okay. What else here? Let me see what else. Brian said that they sent a rep to our council meeting. It must be his community council. Nice concept, but not a great use of the taxpayer dollars. Yeah, I agree. Okay. Let me go back down here. Learn basic economics, says Harold, instead of eating the propaganda from Brad. Because, yes, that's all I do is parrot Brad around here, I'm sure, Harold. You know, sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong. That's just how it is. And I'm sure that there are times when I'm wrong as well. But spending millions of dollars on a foot trail to cross 500 miles of wilderness, no. Anyway, any statewide business would love to maintain this trail for the opportunity to sell their wares. Cabela's, for example. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, then Cabela's could pony up the money. They could pony up the $10 million to build those trails, and then they could have the naming rights and everything else. There you go. Good idea. Do that. Don't take it out of the government coffers. This is like the argument that stadiums are an economic boom to the community even after the community builds them, and they're not. Studies have shown that is not the case. Recent did a whole series about that. that I found fascinating, because all these sports stadiums were sold on the idea that they're going to create economic development in the communities. And they ended up being the biggest boondoggle, ever. They cost the communities millions of dollars. All the unprepared lower 48 hikers that are asking for trouble, not understanding how dangerous our ecosystem is. Yeah, Alaska will kill you. Alaska will kill you. It's a sustainable infrastructure investment. How about, instead of catering to a small, little, tiny slice of people that would enjoy walking 500 miles, how about we fix the roads where thousands of people transit every day? How about we put that money there instead? I'm just asking. Maybe that might be a good idea. Well, there you go. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense
The Michael Duke Show. Seriously humorous with a pinch of intellect. Sorry. That is humorous. Here's Michael Dukes.
All right. Oh, my head is going to explode. All right. So lots of discussion going on about the various pros and cons of spending millions of dollars on a walking trail for 500 miles. This reminds me very much for people who are out there crying that this would be a great economic boon to the state of Alaska, that they would make millions off these trails. I would point you to the article from Reason Magazine that they did a series of articles about stadiums that had a similar type of ring to it, where the stadiums were all sold to the local communities, that the local communities bonded or built or tax deferred or did all these things, spent millions of taxpayer dollars in one way or the other about how much money that they were going to bring into the community. And it turned out that when it was all said and done, that was really not the case. But yeah, sure. 500-mile walking trail paid for by your dollars, when, we're trying to get potholes filled on many state roads or make sure that bridges are good. Sure, whatever. If you guys want to do it, go for it. If businesses like Cabela's or Bass Pro or REI or somebody, think that they're going to make money off these things, maybe they should put together a fund and pony up the money to build those hiking trails. And I would support that 100%. Their money, their ideas, give them naming rights. They would even be able to name it the Cabela's Trail, the REI Trail, whatever. Because these are eco-tourists. They just want to be one with nature. They're not buying a bunch of crap. They're going to live out there in the wilderness, and they're going to walk. And how many of them are going to need to be rescued? That's somebody else asked that question. How many are going to need to be rescued because they just don't understand that Alaska will kill you, right? It's going to kill you. All right. Let's, I got some other, what's the other story that I wanted? Oh, I got a phone call. Let me go over to the phone call instead and see what you have to say. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you think it's the greatest thing since sliced white bread that, that we're going to do this. I don't know. Let's see what you have to say. Over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Randy in Fairbanks.
Hello, Randy.
Yeah. The other day you were talking about the legislation or proposed legislation that would protect minors, children from being mutilated, for changing their genders. And I agree that that should not happen to minors. It's a terrible thought. But there was an interesting article in the Anchorage Daily News from February 28, 2023, and it was about that legislation to protect kids from gender hacking surgery going on. And the title of the article says, "Trans people face horrifying rhetoric at state houses." And the state house they're talking about here is the one in Arkansas where they were discussing protecting children from this sort of thing. But anyway, it says,
right.
The first paragraph says, "It was pharmacist Gwendolyn Herzig's first time testifying before a legislative committee when she spoke to several Arkansas lawmakers in a packed hearing room this month about a bill restricting gender-affirming care for minors. And by the way, this person is a transgender person. But later on in the article, it says, during follow-up questions, Republican Senator Matt McKee, and that's down in Arkansas, by the way, asked Herzig if she is transgender. When she said yes, he asked, do you have, and I won't say the word that they use here, but they use the anatomically correct word for male structures in the area of reproduction. And the question was met with jeers and audible gasps in the park committee room. Quote, that's terrible, Herzig responded, telling McKee that asking such a question was inappropriate and noting she was testifying as a healthcare professional. Quote, I had never been so publicly humiliated in my life, Herzig told the Associated Press in an interview days later. And then McKee's statement in his own defense later said, as a father of 4 daughters, I will do everything in my power to protect my children and the children of Arkansas, especially from the woke mob who intend to push their agenda and beliefs down our throats and destroy our families, McKee's statement said. Anyway, my opinion on this is I guess such a question is kind of abrupt, in polite society or whatever, but I think it's germane to the very topic. I mean, this person testifying, in my opinion, was essentially testifying in favor of the mutilation of minors, and I thought that's a good question. However, my opinion on that is that a person should be a little bit more sensitive to the niceties. You don't have to use the direct anatomical word. You can kind of talk around it a little bit, talking about structures and appendages or whatever like that. And also, in my humble opinion, any legislator that wants to ask a transgender testifier that question should also offer to say, and if you want to ask me the same question, I will be happy to tell you, about my anatomical structure.
Well,
and that way, that would make them feel a little bit more at ease.
Well, I mean, I guess I kind of in that kind of conversation, I would be interested to know what the follow-up question was going to be. Where was this going, right? Why would you ask that? I mean, I'm just curious what was going on. But, I mean, that's the thing. Everybody's offended about everything. And it's this whole thing with the transgendered, the bathrooms, using the bathroom, whatever you want. And they're always talking about the rights of the transgendered person. And I guess my question then becomes, what about the rights of all the other people who are not transgendered, who are just normal kids or normal people who want to be able to go, for example, to use a bathroom in privacy and not have to worry about motivations or motives of other people in the room, that kind of thing. I mean, this idea, again, I don't care if that's how you want to live. If that's how you want to live, great. Just don't force everything around us to conform to exactly what you want and then call it hate if we don't agree with it. I have no problem with people living however they want to live. Whatever they want to do, that's between them and their conscience and their God if they have one or whatever. I don't care. Just don't force it all on me to have to conform to your standards and change all of my standards to conform with yours. That's the whole point.
Yeah, I agree with you. But as far as a follow-up question, I don't know what his follow-up question, the Arkansas senator's follow-up question would have been, but I can think of what it could be. And that is if the transgender person honestly said, well, no, I have not had any, amputations like that, then the senator could say, well, why not? Do you feel uncomfortable? Why do you recommend it for little children and you haven't done it yourself? That would be one possible follow-up. Or the transgender person might say they have been amputated, and then you could go on from there. Anyway, I think it's a germane question.
Well, I think
it should be handled sensitivity.
Well, sure. I mean, there should be some sensitivity there, but again, everybody is so sensitive all the time. And I will go back to repeat what I said earlier, that trying to let a child or even an adolescent decide in those formative years, a decision like this when they can't vote, they can't smoke, they can't buy a gun, they can't do all these other things that they're just too young to understand. But we're going to encourage them to completely try and swap their gender identity. It's insane. It's insane. They don't have enough life experience to be able to pull all those things together and make an informed decision on that. They just don't. And so you're right. It's wrong in that regard. Thank you, Randy, for your call. Let's go over here. We'll take the next call, 907-433-3150. Good morning, caller. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Mike. This is Jeff, Minnetonka.
Hey, Jeff. What's happening?
I was just thinking that a great business opportunity would be setting up blood transfusion stations on the trail. They cross the Tanana Valley. Because the mosquitoes just going to eat these people alive.
Right. We want to get as much blood out of you as we can before the mosquitoes eat you and then the bears do, right? I mean, you could create a big blood drive there. Absolutely. If you've ever been in the Tanana Flats south of Fairbanks in the middle of summer, I guarantee you, you will figure out exactly how bad the mosquitoes are. They will pick you up and carry you out of there. That's how many mosquitoes there are out there for sure.
Yeah, if you want to walk the 500 miles, start in Seward and just follow the Alaska Railroad to Fairbanks. I mean, why spend all the money to build trails?
Well, again, there's plenty of trails in all these areas. I mean, the Chugach and everything else. I mean, there's plenty of trails. And if somebody wants to make a trail that connects with some of those trails, great, more power to you. But why is it government's responsibility to do that? You know, government should get out of the way. Government should, do the permitting and everything else. And if private individuals or private entities want to do that, great. They want to secure the right of ways on the private lands and do all that, great. But we're talking about millions of dollars a year, millions of dollars every year to create a footpath across the state of Alaska. Which, again, I'm not opposed to having a footpath. I am opposed to having state dollars being spent on it when the usage, I'm scratching my head on that one, Jeff. Absolutely scratching my head.
I agree.
All right.
I agree. I was just trying to be tongue-in-cheek there.
No, I like it. I mean, I think you should
put
a blood bank right there on the edge of the trail, right before you get into the interior where all those skeeters are, because the mosquitoes don't need the blood. We humans absolutely do. I think Timothy basically sums up the whole thing right here. He says, generally, if private enterprise is not willing to invest in a project, then it probably will not be profitable. So, hey, let's get taxpayer money to do it. And then you're 100% right. If private enterprise, if it's going to be a profitable thing, they will invest the money. Get a conglomeration of outdoor companies and sporting things and tourism companies together. Pool your money and go build it. Let government just permit the project and get out of the way. $4 million last year from the state. Another $9 million this year, $16 million from the federal government in the last 2 years alone. And again, my question still is on this whole thing, not to be too cynical, but my question is, this organization that's pushing this nonprofit that's pushing this, what do the salaries of their employees look like? I'm just curious. Or is it just all volunteer work? I would still be against it if it's volunteer work, but if they've got people out there actually advocating for this, they did a lunch and learn. They did a lunch and learn with the legislature, which means they're using some of that money they got to go ask for more money. So, okay. All right. That's great. That's great. Nothing worse than people taking government money to then go beg for more government money. That's the worst right there. All right, we got more coming up. We're going to be back with more. One final segment as we return. We got a couple lines on hold. We'll get to them during the break and then be back and start with them on the other side. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. There's no scenario where you can expect to be okay with a lie from some and expect the truth for all. Okay. Let's go over to the phones and get the call. We have one caller that held on. So let's get their name and where they're calling from. We'll get them set up for the return here to the radio in just a minute. We start off over here. Good morning, caller. Who's this? And where are you calling from?
It's Charles in Fairbanks. There's trails here that they have to police the federal trails for people not using them and not paying for them, and selling tours that they don't have the license and registration to sell. There's people getting in trouble for that.
Oh, for using federal trails and making money off it without paying Uncle Sugar his kick?
Yeah, they have to police that. They have to have people watch that, make sure there's nobody using them that doesn't, contribute or whatever, the small amount, or sign up for the cabin usage and all the other goodies they build out there.
Well, yeah.
With federal money, state money.
Federal money, state money. It's all part and parcel of it, Charles. Thank you for your call. I appreciate it. Thanks for calling in. All right. That clears out all the phone lines here. Let me go back over to what you guys have to say. Amy says, this is why I don't like summer. Too many mosquitoes. I like summer, just not the bugs. Yeah, no, it's that's the thing. It's not an every year thing, says Harold. Well, it has been an every year thing. They're asking for, that it's been every year so far, multi-million dollars every year. We have no rights, says Terry. What else we got here? Did Randy mail back his check? I don't know. I'm hoping he cashed it. He talked about at one point last week, he was considering actually cashing it and going to Hawaii. And I'm like, do it. That's what it's for. It's your money. It is your money. And all the state's going to do is spend it on a trail. So, yeah, there you go. Do what Lewis and Clark did, says Chris. Make your own path. Okay. That's plenty of trails out there. You could hike it. Just point the compass that way and go. Point the compass that way and go. The ferry system is an example of why you don't want government operating anything. I mean, I agree with that. I agree with that as well. Okay. Well, what else you guys want to talk about? We don't have to talk about all this. In fact, I'm pretty much done with all the political stories right now. I really don't want to talk about any more of them. I'm closing all the windows, in fact, right now, because I don't even want to talk about them anymore. It's supposed to get cold. It's supposed to get cold next week. And there's supposed to be a 9 million mile an hour windstorm on Friday for the Thompson Pass area down in Valdez and down parts of the peninsula. Oof. Okay. Okay. That's it. I don't have anything else. Somebody said something about Clarkson's Farm that I was going to read. Who did it? Was it Brian? Brian, were you the one that made the comment here? And Brian, the other Brian said, are you back on 700 AM? They're still promoting your show. I don't know which 700 AM are you talking about, Brian? Which area is that broadcasting in? I don't know. Where is the comment? I should have tagged it when I saw it the first time. I've got the ability to tag things, and I didn't want to do that. There you go. It was Brian. There you go. This is the comment on Clarkson's farm. He said it was an eye-opener for him, Jeremy Clarkson, and I hope for people in general, and just how stacked the odds are against farmers, especially family farms. It was eye-opening. I mean, I knew it was bad and tough. I had no idea exactly how bad and tough. And it's just as bad here in America. But yeah. All right. I'm way back now. I'm like almost an hour ago with that comment. Okay. 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 700 AM in Anchorage. They're advertising my show. That's weird. Okay, welcome back to the program. One final segment here on the show. Charles was with us during the commercial break, and he wanted to get it off his chest. So he mentioned that apparently they're having a problem in Fairbanks right now with some of the trails there that are apparently being maintained by the federal government, where they're having to put people out on the trails to police the trails because they're apparently tour operators or something who are utilizing the trails and not paying the fees or the permitting or whatever's going on. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know, man. I don't know. But the final segment of the show, this is where we get a chance to just kind of hang out. The phone lines are still open. Anything is fair game these days. If you want to, talk about it, I'd love to hear what you have to say. I don't know. Apparently, there's another remodel supposed to be done with the Nolwenn Library. Wow. Okay. The Nolwenn is due for another remodel, apparently up in Fairbanks. That's pretty crazy. That is some pretty crazy stuff. All right, let's again, phone lines are open 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. Love to hear what your thoughts are on any of the topics that we've hit on today or anything new. If you want to talk about, again, your favorite book, movie, show, whatever. What are you looking forward to? I mentioned it earlier. The one thing that I'm looking forward to right now is that in 2 weeks from today, in fact, the new John Wick movie comes out. I'm super excited about that. And really looking forward to seeing what comes from that. And of course, the big, probably one of the most impactful things that I've watched lately on stream is the show on Amazon Prime called Clarkson's Farm, which is a show. It's not a reality show per se, but it's kind of a docu, comedy about Jeremy Clarkson, who quit. He's doing he did Top Gear for many years. You're probably familiar with him on there. Apparently he's still doing So You Want to Be a Millionaire in Britain. That's one of the things that he still does. But he's owned a piece of farm up in the it was the Chiddington Hills. Anyway, he owns some farmland, and for years he had somebody who He had somebody who farmed it for him. And that farmer decided to retire. So Clarkson, who's looking to kind of get to retirement himself, decided that he was going to do it. He was going to do it himself. And so we got Amazon Prime to come out there, and it's fun, it's funny, but it's also sad because it shows you the real plight of farmers around the world, especially family farms, and the power that government has over them in a lot of ways, and then also kind of the entrepreneurial thing too, because he's trying to diversify his farm to do more than just farming. He did try to do some farm to table. He tried to do a little farmer's market thing. He tried to create a restaurant that was nothing but food from surrounding farms. And he got so much pushback from the local council, basically the borough assembly or the city council in his area. And they just shut him down doing things on his own land. I mean, it was just, so it's funny, it's insightful, and it also at the end is a little bit depressing because he's having to fight every step of the way to get this stuff done. I can't wait to watch season 3, quite honestly. It was so good. We literally binged everything in I think less than a week. We watched every episode that was there. We started it on a whim and ended up watching the whole thing. So anyway, Clarkson's Farm on Amazon Prime. Go check it out. Go check it out. Let's go back over to the phones here and see what you guys have to say. 907-433-3150. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. Good morning. This is Al from Fairbanks.
Hey, Al, what's on your mind, my friend?
Oh, you were talking about the Long Trail, and the second alternative or the second agenda for that group controlling that trail is to eliminate motorized access and to, really hinder and eliminate trapping.
Oh, so that's part and parcel is that they don't want anybody to use the trails unless they're on foot, and they want to eliminate trapping and any motorized access to any of these areas. Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, well, because they got a lot of language that you're not even allowed to cross the trail, so they're landlocking state property or state access, and they're pretty much an anti-group against hunting and trapping.
I was not aware of that. I guess I'll have to get a little bit more information on them to figure that out and take a look at it. If you've got some of the language or anything else picked out, Al, why don't you drop me an email and we'll get deeper into this and we'll start asking questions about it.
Oh yeah, we've been fighting it for years. They keep they keep comparing it to a trail out east, and build a trail and the people will come.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. They keep comparing it to the Appalachian Trail, which is, again, surrounded by multiple states. People can, in a 2-hour drive, you could be there and hike it, and that's fine, and everything else. This is Alaska. This is a little bit of a different critter up here, and you're not going to get the thousands and thousands of people in the industry that you would have gotten otherwise. And if on top of that, they're going to try and take those state dollars and then use it to lock up the rest of the area from access for people who want to hunt and fish and do that kind of stuff. That's a no bueno for me right there.
Yeah. All right. I just thought I'd bring that up.
All right, Al. Well, if you got anything that you have out there, any links or things on these discussions, would you email them to me and let me take a look at them? I'd appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al. Appreciate the call. 907-433-3150. 907-433-3150. I mean, if that's the language that they're talking about on this footpath and everything else, it is that's insane. I mean, that's insane. If you can't even cross the trail, that would be locking up whole areas of land. That would, and yeah, what about horses? What if I wanted to take a horse on the trail? No, we can't do that. Okay. It is, that's insane. There is no way that I am okay with that, at all. Absolutely. So hopefully Al gives us some more information on this. Maybe we can have a whole show about it and and then, talk about it. Yeah, that would make it a 500-mile fence through Alaska, says Chris. That's right. The goal, lock up the land? Maybe that's it too. They don't want us to be able to do anything on our land but sit in our little cubicles and occasionally go out and enjoy a 500-mile walk and then go right back home to your little cubicles where you don't have a car because you all live in the same communal tower. That's the vision. That apparently is the vision that we need there. It's just insane. So frustrating. So frustrating. I mean, like I said, I'm all about if you want to create a walking path, great. But no, I don't want you to lock it up so that other people can't use it. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, coming up tomorrow is, of course, Firearms Friday. Your chance to sound off on issues of a nature, and I'm super looking forward to that. Firearms Friday, and our guests are going to be, it's the second Friday of the month, so that means that Chris Chang, Top Shot champion, Chris Chang will be joining us in hour 2. We, of course, will have Willie Waffle for wafflemovies.com, but in hour 1, we'll be talking with J.D. Tuccilli from Reason Magazine, who's been following some great stuff going on in the court cases and in the new credit card processing stuff with the firearms and what's going on with that. That should be that would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. And so I'm looking forward to talking with J.D. Tuccilli, Chris Chang, and Willie Waffle tomorrow for Firearms Friday. Don't forget, if you have something you want to say to the show, about the show, you can just drop me an email. The email address is me@michaeldukeshow.com, me@michaeldukeshow.com. Love to hear you there. And, of course, don't forget, you can come out and, subscribe on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Michael Duke Show. Or facebook.com/Michael Duke Show. We're also on Twitch. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. So come on out and check us out there as well. All right, we got to go. Be kind, love one another, live well. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. We will see you tomorrow, folks. Have a great day. Well, I'd love to hear more about this stuff on this trail. Now I'm getting a little agitated. They want to block usage of anything around the trail? No, that's not how it works. Somebody mentioned The Last Ship. That's a great show. If you hadn't seen that, that's also a great show. The Last Ship. It's available on Peacock, I think, right now, or Amazon, maybe. Anyway, my friends, thanks for coming in. We will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.